Well, I have had one crazy-ass, horrible week. I don't think I've had a good night's sleep all week, and unfortunately that meant at work that I was going to get called into meetings all week long, and I was going to get work piled on top of me all week long. So I've been in a very tired and crabby mood for most of this week. And even NXT Unstoppable, which I am going to talk about, obviously. I didn't get to watch it live. I had to wait for the replay after it was done because I just got loaded up with too many things and life was crazy. And so I got another night of very little sleep because I stayed up till 1 in the morning watching NXT Unstoppable. And I even had the ending with Samoa Joe spoiled for me because somebody texted me right after the show ended and was like, yeah, Samoa Joe's with NXT. And I'm like, dude... Dude, I haven't watched the show yet. Come on, man. It was like, and somebody did the same thing to me right after Game of Thrones was over because I didn't watch Game of Thrones because I was watching Payback, and the ending of that episode was spoiled for me. So-and-so did this to so-and-so, and I was like, well, thanks for spoiling for me, numbnuts. I mean, Jesus Christ, keep your goddamn mouth shut. I mean, I can't even avoid the internet anymore. It's just like, they fucking text you the spoilers. But in any case, I've had a bit of a week, so... I'm looking forward to coming on here and talking about something happy, which was NXT Unstoppable, which was yet another tremendous outing from NXT. Another great, stellar 2-hour special that they are just masters at doing at this point in time. And to compare it to Payback, which I have to do, this show, okay, Payback... The pacing was really, really off because it started off well enough and you got some solid matches all in a row and it's building up nicely. Okay. Then you get that vortex of awful right there in the middle, which was the I Quit match, which really sucked the life out of the show. I mean, I saw that Meltzer gave the match 3.5 stars and I'm like, really? Really? That's 3.5 stars. Okay. It gave it the same rating as the tag match, which I think is like, okay, and... All right, yeah, I'm supposed to take Meltzer's rating seriously. Okay, it's like I thought it was probably my pick for worst match of the year. As far as like matches that just pained me to no end and were just a chore to sit through, that's got to be it for me. It's either that, Wyatt and Undertaker and Mania, or the Royal Rumble match. And even the Royal Rumble match was kind of like... it was so shocking in how awful it was, and not even just because Roman Reigns won, even though that was a big part of it. That was kind of the cherry on top of the shit sundae, but it was the way the whole thing was booked was just stunning. I mean, the Cena-Rusev match was just brutally, painfully boring, and just sucked my soul out. But in any case, that match happened, and it kind of threw the whole show out of whack, and it made the show seem very unbalanced. NXT Unstoppable, on the other hand, very nicely paced, and by the time it was over, I was like, I don't think there was a lull in the entire show. It was just consistently exciting all the way throughout. Some matches were better than others, obviously, but overall, I thought it was just a well put together, very exciting, very fun, great outing from NXT. Yet again, it's what they do. And again, it's another one of those things where it helps when they're only a 1-hour show. Their stories are allowed to breathe. The 2-hour specials actually feel special because they don't happen all the fucking time. They feel like can't-miss events. When was the last time a WWE pay-per-view truly felt like it was can't-miss? Money in the Bank 2011 was obviously one because of the whole Punk situation. But for the most part, I mean, most pay-per-views feel like, regardless of how they turn out in the end, it's like, do you really feel like you're chomping at you're biting your fingernails with anticipation, waiting to actually see the show? No, it's just another thing that you do once a month. And, but not these NXT specials. They are actually special, and, they always deliver. As far as I'm concerned, NXT is 6 for 6. I mean, they've hit these shows out of the park, and there's always... great matches, great action, great booking, great payoffs, great everything. And the show was no exception. But going over the show from the beginning, the bit that they did showing Hideo Itami getting attacked in the parking lot and Kevin Owens walking by and just saying, oh, well, that's a shame, was, A, it was funny, and B, it creates this nice little mystery of who attacked Hideo Itami. The obvious suspect is Kevin Owens, but to me it's like it's too obvious the way they set it up. So... they could reveal Owens did it, but it could be somebody else, and it'll give Hideo something to play with and give him a feud when he ultimately comes back. So it was good to get that out of the way and make the explanation for why he wasn't there. Then you get the opening match, which was Tyler Breeze versus Finn Balor for the #1 contendership, and the entrances were really fucking cool. Balor's tweaked his a little bit so that it stands out, and he had bat wings and everything, and all of that was very cool. And Breeze came out with all the models dressed in his gear and doing the selfies and everything, and so he had a great entrance and a brand new gear and everything. So that was great, and it had like a very WrestleMania type feel to it, which was very cool. And I thought the match was very good. It was just a really good opener. The bit that they did where Balor dove off the stage really made it more memorable than the standard match. And the sequence they did where Balor hit the exposed turnbuckle and then Tyler Breeze caught him with the beauty shot, I thought that was it, because most of the time when Breeze hits the beauty shot, it's over. So, yeah, it helps to really establish moves as being match enders, doesn't it? So when Balor kicked out, it was like, whoa! That was a near fall that actually mattered. And I legit bought that as the finish, but Balor kicked out. And sure enough, Balor won. It was a very good match, and we've got Owens versus Balor 2 to look forward to, among other things, obviously. But I'll get to that when I get into the end of the show. But, yeah, I thought very good opener, very good start to the show. Then we got the Divas tag match, Bayley and Charlotte versus Emma and Dana Brooke. Now, compare this to the Divas tag match at Payback, which, okay, Payback was not a terrible show, but it has to be, like, the negative example here just because it happened so recently. The Divas tag match on that show, while the girls tried, at least I think they did. I was only half paying attention because I was still getting over how bad Rusev and Cena was. But that match was really treated like filler. It was treated like nothing, nothing's really important, nothing's really going on, nothing matters, and this is just kind of a throwaway. This match could have easily been that, but because NXT does such a better job of promoting their women and making their female talents matter, this match actually felt like a good, solid match to have on the show, and it was. Bayley and Charlotte did their thing. They looked great in there. Emma worked with them well. Dana's still a little green, but not to the point that she's terrible. And putting her in a tag match definitely hit her weaknesses at least a little bit. And overall, I thought the match was just a good, action-packed tag match to fill out the card. And it was nice to see Bayley actually get a win on one of these things. Granted, Charlotte was the one that got the pin, but it was nice to see Bayley win a match on one of the Takeover specials because she hasn't really done that yet. So, yeah, and again, it's also nice that the NXT Divas division got to spread itself out over 2 matches on one special because, I mean, they've been so good that they do deserve it. They deserve to have 2 matches on the show. That's, their quality of their work should be rewarded. And the division is pretty deep right now, so why not showcase them in multiple matches? So, yeah, I was completely fine with this match. It was a perfectly solid, perfectly good way to promote the other girls in your division. Next up was Baron Corbin versus Rhino, which was way better than I would have ever expected it to be. Not great. It was the weakest match on the show, but it wasn't bad. And by the time it was over, I kind of felt like, okay, maybe Baron has improved enough to where he's carryable. Because Rhino got a solid match out of him. I thought it was just a nice, solid, decent, brawling power match. Which is about as high as I could expect out of it. Like I said, wasn't great, wasn't spectacular, but it got the job done. And as long as they keep Baron with that unbeatable mystique around him, he can contribute to the show in that aspect because if you build a guy as unbeatable, it really doesn't matter what his talent level is. It makes him an attraction that you could use in other ways. And whenever he has a match with somebody like a Sami Zayn or a Rhino, for example, somebody like that, it'll actually mean something because Baron's viewed as being unbeatable. So the match will actually carry some weight. And great, he has lost a couple matches, but nothing too bad. I mean, he's a monster that's actually booked like a monster. So it actually means something when he loses. But he won the match here to the surprise of no one. And the match was okay. It was not... Again, it was certainly better than his matches with Bull Dempsey, which I felt exposed him a little bit. But here, you put him in there with a veteran, and I think Rhino worked well enough with him, and I thought the match was all right. So they got out of that one unscathed, basically. So, okay, that was fine. Then we got the tag title match, which was surprisingly good. Enzo and Cass, I love their act and everything, but I never thought of them as being a really good really good in-ring talents necessarily. They're just kind of the team that, okay, they're entertaining and I love their personalities, so absolutely showcase them, but I don't expect much out of the match. And I thought the match turned out pretty well, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the crowd was so into Enzo and Cass and wanted them to win the belt so badly that it kind of added a lot of energy to the whole thing. And the way the match kept progressing more and more, it felt like, oh my god, they might actually win the belts. That would be really cool. And especially since I knew Sasha wasn't going to lose the women's title, and I knew Kevin Owens wasn't going to drop the NXT title. It was kind of like, this felt like the title that had the biggest chance of changing hands. So it was getting a little exciting there for me. It was like, oh my god, Enzo and Cass might actually win the belts, which if they had won, I wouldn't have had a problem with it at all. My one real major knock on NXT is that their tag division is very, very thin at the moment. They moved the Ascension and Lucha Dragons up to the main roster. They refuse to use the Vaudevillains for whatever reason. I don't understand that. The Vaudevillains are the best team they have. I don't care what anybody says. And right now it's pretty much just Enzo and Cass, Blake and Murphy, and then whatever jobber team they can throw together. And they can definitely do better there. But Enzo and Cass are so over right now. I just feel like, yeah, let them carry the straps. Why not? Excuse me. The ending was a bit of a surprise because I expected Carmella to turn heel, and I think a lot of people expected that. So when Alexa Bliss came down, knocked out Carmella, and helped Blake and Murphy win, it was like, all right, so you got the same result, but you went about it in a different way, so that was interesting. Alexa Bliss, she's an internet favorite. Like, a lot of people have told me she's really good, and she's going to be a superstar. Just watch. And I look at her and I'm like, yeah, she's cute as a button, she's adorable, she's beautiful and everything, but as a talent, I'm not seeing the obvious greatness. I'm not saying she's bad. I'm just not seeing what everybody else is seeing, and everybody else seems to think she's great, and I'm like, I would put Charlotte, I would put Bayley, I would put Sasha Banks above her, I would put even Carmella. As far as the personality goes, I think Carmella's got way more personality, and not bad in the ring either. At least based on the little I've seen, and obviously would throw Becky Lynch up there as well, especially after this last show, but I'll get to that match next. But yeah, I've never seen the obvious greatness in Alexa Bliss, but hopefully now that she's turned heel, now that she's with Blake and Murphy, hopefully the pairing can help both sides. Hopefully Blake and Murphy can establish themselves as something, because I'm really not feeling them as tag champions. This match was better than what they've been doing, and part of the problem is that they put the belts on them way too soon without really establishing them as much of anything. So hopefully they're able to find something to play with, and hopefully Alexa brings out something in them, and they bring out something in Alexa, and it all works for everybody involved. One would hope. And obviously, I think an intergender 6-person match is in the future at some point, which could be fun and entertaining and really good. So, yeah, I enjoyed this match. I thought it was just a really good tag match. I was, like the crowd, I was a little upset that Enzo and Cass didn't win, but that was the intention, so it worked for me. With that. So, yeah, really enjoyable. And, most of the NXT specials, you have to say, the tag title match usually isn't that good. I remember the first Takeover special I saw, I thought, that was all right. I mean, the Ascension's kind of cool, but El Local, or whoever it was, he was kind of botchy. And then I think at Arrival, it was Too Cool versus the Ascension. It was like, oh, gee, I wonder who's going to win that match. It just... And then at Rival, you had Lucha Dragons versus Blake and Murphy, and I didn't think that match was very good at all. But this was one of the better tag title matches that I've seen from NXT, so that's a good thing, that there's at least a step forward in quality. The tag team division still needs a lot of work, but that's another battle for another day. Then we got the Divas Championship match, Sasha Banks versus Becky Lynch. Now, I said in my preview that this match has a lot to live up to because the standard set for the NXT women's title matches at these TakeOver specials have been set pretty high. Emma and Paige was a really good one, but I saw it like 6 months after it happened, so you can't really... Because I knew Paige won and because I'm seeing it months after it happened, it doesn't have that same excitement, but it was still a really good match. But to me, the high quality really started with Charlotte and Natalya at the first TakeOver, and how awesome that match was. And then we got Bayley and Charlotte, and that was a great match. And then you got Sasha Banks and Charlotte, and that was a great match. And then you got the 4-way match at Rival, and that was a great match. the bar had just been set so high that I wondered, okay, Charlotte's not in the mix anymore. Let's see what Sasha and Becky can do. Let's see if they can go out there and tear it down. And they fucking stole the show, quite honestly. That was an outstanding match. Just expertly wrestled, expertly done, and for a situation that, again, obvious outcome, we all knew Sasha was going to retain the title. At least I did. I can't speak for everybody, but a build-up that was kind of like, not bad, but kind of like, okay, yeah, they're just feeding Becky to Sasha, and Sasha will move on to bigger and better things. I really didn't expect too much out of this, quite honestly, and they went out there and had an absolutely amazing match. It was great, and I'll say the same thing I said about the Trios Tournament Finals from Lucha Underground, where if you didn't like Ivelisse, Son of Havoc, and Angelico before the match, you fell in love with them by the time the match was over. Same thing here with Becky Lynch. If you didn't like her beforehand, you fell in love with her by the time the match was over. The match was just that stellar, and by the end of it, I legitimately thought, oh my god, she might actually win. It was like the match is just going that well and that exciting, and it sucked me in that much that I felt like anybody could win it. And, you know, all the counters and the action and the wrestling, and it was just this... it felt like a very natural athletic contest. It wasn't the typical, you know, back and forth, you know, heel dominates and babyface makes a comeback, and you know, you kind of play out the formula and pick it out spot for spot. It really did feel like a very natural, very spontaneous athletic competition. And even with some of there were a couple like botches in there, quote unquote botches, but. To me, a botch isn't necessarily a bad thing depending on how you react to it, and the girls reacted to it in a way that made it feel more natural, I guess, and that's tough to explain, but actually the best example would probably be Brett and Bulldog from SummerSlam 92, probably my favorite match of all time. That match has botches in it, but the way they handled the botches made the match feel more natural, and they didn't act like they fucked up, basically, is the point I'm trying to get at. And Becky and Sasha didn't act like that there was a fuck up, so it kind of gave it more of a human quality to it that I thought made it better. And yeah, it was just a very exciting match, and just I could go on all day about all the spots they did and all the way the action just kept building and building and building and building. But it was just an incredible display from the girls, and they totally lived up to the standard that has been set by the women's title matches. Arguably the best women's title match that the NXT specials have had. That's how good it was. It's arguably the best one. It was outstanding. It was just, I can't put it over enough. It was just the NXT women do great work. Sasha proved that she doesn't need Charlotte to have a great match. She's great on her own. Becky showed that she's got a lot of talent that was being untapped, and she can go and she can hang with the big dogs. And actually, to put over Becky some more, I mean, there was a moment at the end that really reminded me of Wrestle Kingdom 9 when Okada lost to Tanahashi. And he started crying, and it just felt so legitimate, and it felt like, oh my god, I felt so bad for him, because he was like, you could tell he poured his, the way everything had played out, it's like he poured his heart and soul into this, and he lost, and it was devastating to him, and it was legitimately heartbreaking. And I got that same feeling here with Becky, where she sat in the ring and started crying, and I'm like, oh, that's sad. That's really sad. And then she leaves to a standing ovation. Because like I said, if you didn't like her beforehand, you fell in love with her by the time it was over. And I got to say, I like her new look. The whole steampunk getup actually looks really cool, and I hope she sticks with it. Orange hair, that's okay. It's not as stupid as Eva Marie's hair. But somebody, look, Eva Marie, you're an attractive woman. Somebody needs to tell her that her hair looks stupid. Okay, I'm sorry. That fake phony red, it doesn't even look like real hair. That fake phony color red hair, it looks like shitty Jessica Rabbit cosplay. It just looks horrible. Honey, your hair looks stupid. Somebody needs to tell you this. I'm sorry. I know you're very attractive. You got a nice body and everything, but your hair looks insufferably dumb, and you need to change it. But but whatever. That was that. Yeah, they stole the show. They had the best match on the card, without question. Best match on the show. Sasha and Becky just completely tore it down. It was great. Then we got the main event. Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens 2. Not really much of a match. It was more of just a clusterfuck, but in a good way. I liken it to, because I like to make comparisons, obviously. I liken it to Bret Hart and Jerry Lawler from SummerSlam 93. I would never say it was one of Bret Hart's best matches or anything, but it was exciting to watch because it was so well put together and so well booked. It wasn't really much of a match, but it was entertaining, and so obviously there's that. And it came off really well with Sammy just beating the crap out of Owens for like 10 minutes or whatever it was and just brawling all over the place. Really was not how I expected the match to go. I wonder if Sammy's injury played into that, them booking it that way. I don't know. I'm still not fully convinced that Sammy's injury isn't a work, but, especially the way they kept playing it up throughout the match. I'm like, I can't help but feel like it's a work. But I don't know. That's just me. I just always assume I'm being worked. But yeah, it was fun to watch, and then the pop-up powerbomb on the apron happened, and I like that they kept consistency there. It's like, oh, that's the move that killed Zayn before, so it killed him again. And yeah, that's how that works. So Sami Zayn was pretty much done after that. And the referees came down, tried to stop the match. Owens fought him off, and then started wailing on Sami some more. Then Regal came out to try and stop him. Then Owens knocked down Regal, which was like, oh shit! I was like, this guy's crazy. And actually, Kevin Owens, he's got a lot of feuds lined up that he could have. He's obviously got a rematch with Balor. I think there's plenty of room to do another match with Zayn because there's clearly unresolved issues there. Obviously, you got another big match that this show hyped up that I'll touch upon in a minute. You could also do a match with Hideo 6 to 8 months from now. So I think, I think Owens has plenty of mileage as champion. He could probably go on for a while as NXT champion, like a good long while, because he's got plenty of feuds, plenty of storylines lined up. And then amidst all the craziness, Samoa Joe makes his NXT debut and has a stare down with Kevin Owens, and that was a big moment. That was actually a nice surprise. His theme song sucks, by the way, but the actual surprise was very cool and very nice. It was good that the crowd knew who he was. Obviously, the NXT crowd is very smarky, and actually, they were great throughout the night. They were excited and just amped up the entire show. And I've seen shows where crowds will die out halfway through because I don't know if they just get their fill of it or if something really bad just sucks the life out of the show or something like that. But this crowd was consistently great all throughout the show. But they knew who Joe was, and they reacted greatly to him. And that felt like a big deal, him and Kevin Owens having a stare down. So I really got a kick out of that. And it was great. My only knock on the entire thing, on the entire main event, there should have been an announcement of what the finish was. And I know it was entertaining to watch. I'm not knocking it for that. But did Kevin Owens lose by DQ? Did Sami Zayn win by DQ? Did the referee stop the match and award it to Owens? Was it a double disqualification? Like, what happened? We don't know. We don't know what the ending was. And it should matter who wins. I mean, this is a big main event that they've been hyping for a while. We should get an official outcome here. And I felt like there needed to be some kind of an official announcement. If you wanted to do a DQ, that's completely fine. I have no problem with that. WrestleMania 8 did a similar thing with Hogan and Sid where, yeah, it ended with a DQ, but it set up the return of the Ultimate Warrior, which kind of made you forget that the match sucked. But the surprise, you got your big moment with the surprise and everything, and everybody's going nuts, everybody's going crazy, and at least the match had, you knew how the match ended, and the outcomes are supposed to matter. And what they did here kind of reminded me of TNA's Victory Road 2008, which I'm not going to touch upon the TNA being canceled things right now. I'm not going to touch up on that in this video, not yet anyway. I'll find another time to talk about that. But where was I going with this? Anyway, TNA Victory Road 2008. It was Samoa Joe and Booker T in the main event. They did a similar thing where the brawl just got out of hand and Joe just beat the crap out of Booker, and referees are getting thrown around, and Sting comes down and attacks Joe, and then Booker gets he pins Joe, but with Sharmell counting the 3 count and everything. And by the time it was over, it was like, yeah, it was all exciting and crazy, but who the fuck won? I mean, what was the outcome? I don't know. And was it a no contest? Did Joe get disqualified? Did Booker get disqualified? I mean, what happened? We didn't know, and it only serves to confuse, because I do care who wins. It does matter who wins. Even if it's a double disqualification, I don't care. Just give me an outcome. Give me an ending. A DQ finish might be viewed as anticlimactic, but you had Samoa Joe coming out to fix that, so it was fine. I just would have liked an official announcement of who actually won the match. Because it could have been either a DQ on Owens or it could have been, referee stoppage. Sami Zayn lost and Kevin Owens got the win again. But we don't know. And that's the thing. I would have liked that. Other than that, I did enjoy the main event. I thought it was wild and crazy and just bonkers and all over the place and was fun. And Samoa Joe was a nice capstone to the whole thing. So that all worked out very, very well. Overall, I mean, that one knock aside in the main event, I thought NXT Unstoppable was a damn near flawless show. It was just no bad matches, I would say. No bad matches, just consistently entertaining throughout. You got an outstanding women's match, a bunch of good matches underneath it, and you had a wild and crazy main event with a shocking debut as the closer. So, NXT hit it out of the park again. I can't wait to see another one in 3 months. Oh, darn, I gotta wait. That's such a horrible thing, waiting for things that I want to see, But whatever. NXT Unstoppable, another killer show. It was great. NXT, you're beautiful. A couple other things to talk about. Well, I guess I should talk about Elimination Chamber. It's coming up pretty quickly. The big thing that got added to that show, John Cena versus Kevin Owens for the U.S. title. That match is intriguing, very intriguing, especially after what happened on Raw this week. Of course, after what happened on Raw with Owens beating up Cena, I thought that they were going to get a long, long build-up. Like, this would be next year's WrestleMania match. But no, they're just going to do it at Elimination Chamber in 2 weeks. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah, force it, why don't you? But, it's really weird how this card with only like 2 weeks of build-up is like the best card WWE's done this year, probably. At least on paper. I mean, you've got an Elimination Chamber match for the vacant IC title. That's cool. You've got an Elimination Chamber for the tag titles, which has never happened before. That's different. That's cool. I think cramming 6 teams in there is a bit much. I assumed it was going to be 3 teams with each member in a pod, and I thought that's how they were going to do that. But, okay, fine. Whatever. It's fine. It'll be different, if nothing else. At least it's intriguing. I mean, I don't like the fact that they're having 2 chamber matches because I think that's that's kind of like overkill, but at least the 2 matches are different. So I'll give it that. And then you have Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins in the main event. It's like, okay, that could be a good... Well, it's a world title match. It probably won't close, if I had to guess, because it's actually the weakest match on the card, if you think about it. It's because you got 2 Elimination Chamber matches, and then the more intriguing match is Cena and Kevin Owens, and Seth and Dean, it's like, yeah, they're revisiting an old feud, but Seth's going to walk out with the belt. So, I mean, I doubt that Ambrose is going to beat him, but it's weird. That's actually the least interesting match on the card. But, I wish they had given this a little bit more time to build, or payback didn't happen. We got in 5 months, or, 5 or 6 weeks to build to this, or something like that, but... what are you going to do? It is what it is. But, yeah, it's, the John Cena U.S. Open, I am legitimately enjoying that angle because I would just want to see somebody kick his ass and beat him. And the more he wins, the more credibility it adds to the U.S. title, and the more it adds to my, like, oh, my God, I want somebody to beat him, and I want Kevin Owens to go out there and just kick his ass. By the way, Kevin Owens coming out to a John Cena t-shirt in the main event of the Takeover special, that was pretty awesome. I did get that was the LOL moment of the night. But, NXT was great. Elimination Chamber, we got at least one match that's really, really interesting. I want to see how that turns out. Anything else to talk about? Lucha Underground, my weekly putting over of Lucha Underground. Good episode this week. Not one of their stronger ones, but there was some good character and story to development. Black Lotus is going to be showing up. Mil Muertes is coming back next week. It's going to be Mil Muertes versus Phoenix in a death match. I don't know what that entails, but if it's anything like their Grave Consequences match, it should be amazing. We got Puma versus Hernandez for the title next week, and on this past show, we got the main event. The Trios titles were defended in a ladder match, which was not as dramatic as the Trios tournament finals from last month, but still a really good ladder match and really fun and exciting. And Helico is one crazy son of a bitch. Just the spots he's coming up with are just insane. But another good episode for Lucha Underground this week, and I'm looking forward to next week's show. It should be strong. We got a double main event next week. Anything else? No, I think that's it wrestling related. So, if you haven't seen NXT Unstoppable, go check it out. It's pretty awesome. My next video, which I've already promised, It's going to be a video about me talking about the various comic book and superhero-related TV shows that have been on. Flash just had its season finale, so I can talk about that in full. You got Flash, got Arrow, got Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Agent Carter, Walking Dead, I guess I'll throw that in there again. What else? Daredevil is another one. iZombie is another one that I want to talk about. So I'm going to talk about all of those shows in one video and just give my thoughts and feelings and opinions on all of them, since most of the seasons are done. iZombie's still going, but I feel like I could talk about them in full and give my thoughts on them. And yeah, I want to talk about the last episode of Game of Thrones, because I feel like it bears talking about, because it was so controversial and everything, and I feel like I should throw my 2 cents in there just to, be like one of the cool kids and throw my opinions out there. But so yeah, next video is going to be non-wrestling related, but hopefully you all enjoy that. But that is all I have for now. Hope you all enjoyed this video, and I hope you all enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. It looks like it's going to be a fun one. I know I'm looking forward to it. I get a 3-day weekend. I need one after this week. I mean, I swear to God, Friday night, I'm going to come home, go to sleep at like 5:30 and not get up till noon the next day. I need to catch up on my sleep. But yeah, like I said, that is all I have for you now. Hope you all have a good weekend, and I will see you all later.